YouTube has just announced, not even 24 to 72 hours after that review came out, that they are removing dislikes from the publicly viewed pages on YouTube to protect the content creators, Mr. Black. And they're protecting the content creators by doing so by allowing only the content creators themselves to see all the dislikes on their own videos. I don't know what the logic behind that is, but it's YouTube. So here we are. Obviously, I haven't seen a single person. I haven't seen one content creator in my timeline that hasn't shit all over this idea. Because it is terrible. It's one of the few, it's one of the many stages of when a viewer hits a video of like sussing out whether or not this video is even worth watching in the first place, especially when it comes to stuff like tutorials and things of that nature. You get an idea like right away. Is this even going to be worth sifting through 15 minutes of footage to see if this is going to solve my problem? If it's like bombed into the ground? Probably no. But if you're just showing likes and then you got to go read through a bunch of comments to hopefully figure it out, that's just a pain in the ass. I also fail to see how this in any way, shape, or form protects any content creator. In fact, the most damaging part about seeing your videos get dislikes or dislike bombed is when you yourself see them. And so just limiting it to the content creator being the only person seeing the fucking dislikes seems like a really shitty way of quote-unquote protecting the content creator. So a bit of a strange one from YouTube. What do you not that you probably care, but what do you think about getting rid of, as somebody that watches a fair amount of YouTube, because you do consume a fair amount of YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you rely on the like dislike sometimes when you're watching videos?
Sometimes. Not as, because I don't do a lot of discovery stuff. Like I'm not going out there looking for new content creators and stuff for the most part. So I'm watching the same people pretty much for years. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's protecting anybody, personally. Maybe it's there so that people watch videos a little bit more.
Instead of just
like clicking around, right? So maybe this is just a play for them to make more money on the back end, so that you kind of have to watch a little bit of the video to see if it's something you would like. On the flip side, that somebody does bomb a video or whatever, sometimes when a video does have a lot of dislikes and you skip over it, it might have actually been a good video. There are a lot of content creators that, get semi-canceled, where like they say something on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, or they're in some kind of, drama or relationship or whatever, and they break up. And the next thing you know, it like every single video for the next like 3 weeks is just getting disliked the fuck. You put anything out and people are just like dislike. Like they did that shit on ESPN when Ariel Helwani left, and then, another guy came in and they hated the new host. So they were just disliking it. And, some of it, yeah, okay, I understand. You're kind of letting people know, with your likes and dislikes and your comments that you're not happy with the change. But sometimes people get a little crazy too, right? And they just start joining in on the bash to join in on the bash. So, I mean, I like part of it I get, but I mean, honestly, I don't think it's going to do what they want it to do, unless what they want to do is make more money, and they're just not flat out telling people this and are using it as a scapegoat to say like, hey, we're protecting our content creators, which is probably more so.
That's probably what it is.
More so. I think maybe some of it comes from a good place, because as a content creator, like getting your shit bombed is probably not a good feeling, at least publicly. Like, if somebody fucking did that shit to all my content and I only had to see it, it wouldn't be as bad as everybody else seeing it, because people in the comment sections will let you know too, like, yeah, this thing's getting fucked. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? They'll kind of get into it. So I think it's probably a little bit of both. But yeah. I don't care one way or another. Like,
it's really interesting.
My experience on YouTube to not see a dislike bar. I don't really care.
It's really interesting because content creators already have the ability to disable the like dislike bar.
Yeah, but when you do that, it's like you're hiding something, right? And the viewer picks up on that very quickly, and they'll like, even people that aren't even interested, like that don't care about dislikes or likes, they will flat out tell you like, why don't you have this shit on, right? So I think it's best that if they do it, they don't leave it up to the user. I think they either do it or they don't do it. because at least now the user can say, I can't turn it on even if I wanted to, guys. This is a YouTube thing. It just makes it a little easier.
I do think, like I was going to mention this, and Kinu in chat mentioned this just a couple of seconds ago here. I do think that this is largely, and you touched on it as well, this is almost guaranteed to be, they got pressure from corporate side, where, you know, you get, because if you think about it, YouTube is a pretty big place for things like trailer releases for movies, games, TV shows, all sorts of media. And if there's one thing that we've seen a lot of recently, it's that companies have felt the need to pivot their product because they put a trailer out and the shit gets fucking bombed into the dirt. Usually, I mean, yes, there's a lot of bandwagoning because it gets fun. You know, people find it fun after a while to join on the dislike train, but let's not pretend that, like, the first Sonic trailer that came out didn't deserve to get fucking yeeted into the sun, and then we quite literally got a totally different movie on the other side that was the only reason that it is now going to get a sequel and has become a legitimate property. People looked at it and go, you know what, that movie was actually pretty good. Because if we got what had just come out fucking in that first trailer, it would have been dead on arrival, no question. But then you have other situations like YouTube's own fucking YouTube Rewind, where it was like the most disliked video in the history of the website when they did their last one, and now they're just not doing rewinds at all. And so I think this is a little bit more of, like, when they're talking about protecting the content creator, I think this is more protecting the fucking movie studios and game studios that are releasing trailers that get bombed because they're doing really stupid shit. Like somebody else mentioned when Nintendo came out with their expansion pack stuff, and it got one of the few things Nintendo ever put out that got a lot of dislikes was this expansion pack thing. And it's because it was predatory, shitty, anti-consumer Nintendo bullshit, and people finally hit a breaking point with Nintendo. It only took fucking 15 years, and they finally got there, and they showed it on this video, and obviously for a company, they're not going to want to have that if they can get away with it, and so I'm sure YouTube's been hearing it for more than a while now from companies, major corporations. Look, you know, when we disable it, like you mentioned, which is a very good point, when we disable it, we catch fire.
Oh yeah,
for this shit.
Rightfully so.
So why don't you just get rid of the dislike altogether, leave the likes, spin it for positive, and YouTube like, all right, sure. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest, man. I think that this change probably does more good than bad. Like, I don't, you know, I know everybody hates change, and like removing such a feature that's in your face on such a huge platform like YouTube is like a shock to everybody's systems.
Well, it's like when they got rid of the 5-star rating. Remember what that was like?
Yeah. Exactly, right? So everybody's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's the same thing on Twitter. If Twitter, you know, removed the like button or added a dislike button, right? Everybody would fucking lose their goddamn mind. I think that this play, yeah, it's a little, you know, it's like, is it necessary? No. But I think in the grand scale of it, it probably does a little bit more good than bad, especially if it generates more money. It makes it so that people, you know, are not feeling a certain way about wanting to post on YouTube and being judged so critically. And you know, the review bombing and all this other stuff. I think that's probably has something to do with it. I would imagine it's not necessarily just about protecting, probably about money and a little bit of protecting.
Yeah.
But I'm not one of those guys that's like taking out his pitchfork and getting angry about it. I mean,
oh, I don't think my biggest contention point with it was how they were framing it, because I don't believe for a second that they're doing this to protect fucking content. If that was the case, then they wouldn't be showing it even to them. They would just say, look, your video got this many likes. You can gauge based on how many likes you have whether or not your video is doing well. Like the dislike button, if they really thought it was damaging to a content creator, wouldn't show it even to the content creator.
Yeah.
So that's my major thing with it. People will adapt. You know, somebody jokingly put on Twitter, it's like what they do on Twitter, use this post as your dislike button, like this, so they just like all that, so that's the dislike button. Now, unfortunately, YouTube, you can delete comments, so they can curate, you know, and that's kind of the thing that I also is it's a little shitty, is that when it does come to the corporate stuff, like trailers and whatnot, they can curate comments They can just delete shit that they don't think they don't want people to be seeing, negative reaction to, and they got rid of the one thing that they couldn't without disabling it. And like you said again, you disable it, you're in trouble. So this is like the ultimate control where it's like, everyone loves our shit. And that's just the negative. There is positives, absolutely. It's just
The good
kind of
news
like
is,
that one
when
thing.
it comes to trailers and games and stuff, there are so many channels out there of people that are reviewing these things and doing trailer reactions and different things like that. Like, you can go out and get your fix on what you think.
Yeah.
And you know what? It is kind of nice to go in and see a piece of content without being persuaded in any way, shape, or form before you go in. And
yeah,
no matter,
I always try to like not see,
but it's hard. It's hard not to do that, right?
Yeah,
you kind of look at that first comment. You look at the like-dislike ratio, and then you kind of set your expectation going into the media before you even get in there. And it's kind of not fair to the creator and to the person that's consuming it. But I also understand it is a social media platform. You're putting yourself out there. People are going to speak their mind. So, like, it works both ways.
Little give and take.